Okay, you are now live.
Okay. So I'd like to call the Amity Board of Education Communications Committee to order at 5:34 p.m. The first item on our agenda is our past approval of minutes from our February 27th meeting. Anyone have any corrections or anything else to add to those minutes?
I'm good.
I'm good.
So we'll just need to get one motion to approve and then a vote.
Okay.
Motion to
Motion.
approve.
All right, Kathy, I've got you for that. And if everybody can just show by a show of hands or mic a thumbs up of some sort or a yes that you approve.
I can give you a yes.
Perfect. All
I've got it.
right. Okay. All right. We did not receive any requests for public comment
Public comment?
today.
All right.
So
Great.
we don't have any.
So we can move on to item number 4, discussion and possible action on Communications Committee bylaw.
So included in your packet, what I did was I tried to pull together a handful of school districts who have a communications committee as a standing committee. Some of them had them as ad hoc committees, particularly during like big building projects. But I found a couple samples. One of them, it was Darien had a whole section where they had pulled other communications committee bylaws from across the country. So that was kind of the second part. So I did the Connecticut ones first, and then sort of the other ones that were out there. I did also plug it into ChatGPT just to see what would happen. It was way too long. So what I ended up doing was giving a potential draft, which we can edit tonight. The draft that's in your packet, the first line is pretty much consistent with the language that we have for all of our committees. And then the rest of the section, and then the last line is consistent with the language we have for all of our committees. The pieces in the middle really came primarily from Cromwell and from Darien. It seemed to be, I guess, the language a little more aligned with what I think boards of education are tasked to do in Connecticut. Some of the things that I saw from other parts of the country seem to be overreaching the role of a board of ed, but that could also be because of how their boards and statutes are structured.
So I guess we can open it up to open up the floor for any suggestions on edits to the draft that's included. So Jen, I really liked the excerpt from Tolland, increasing opportunities for two-way communication between the Board of Education and other, well, not municipal boards, but like and the general public at large. But I guess what we have here too is also like important and relevant. Providing information about and celebrating the work of the school community. But I wonder if that bit from Tolland is a bit wider, like broader, and can sort of encompass that and gives us, I don't know.
Jen, did that come from you? Because I didn't see it.
It would have come from Miss Zaleski.
Lisa,
It would have
yeah.
been, yeah, Lisa Zaleski, and it would have
Oh.
been the communications committee
Okay.
packet.
Okay, all right.
It was today. I was just looking at it too.
Oh, that's why. I've been busy all day. I literally just got home, so, okay, communications committee. There's the Zoom link. Is the
I think
packet?
the
Do you want me
packet
to
came on
share? I can,
on
do you want to,
Friday.
That would be great.
Yeah,
do
actually,
you want me to
it's
share
probably,
screen?
I
Yeah, that would
probably
be
can do that more easily.
Okay.
Hang on, no, I'm toggling back and forth between so many different screens right now. Let's see.
Yeah, I thought she sent it on Friday.
Yes, she did send it on Friday.
Well, I was in Boston doing
Share.
22 miles on Saturday, so,
Running?
yes, and then
All right.
Sunday I passed out, so,
Oh,
Okay,
Kathy.
there we go.
okay, Colchester.
So, I mean, obviously, so I drew from Montville. I drew some from Darien. And I think that was, and I think I drew from one of the other ones. I think, so I guess we would have to think a little bit more because what we mean by two-way communication. Because I do think that people picture that as that back and forth, which we
Oh.
have sort of accomplished somewhat with the community forums, but that never, it's board directed, board assisted,
Right.
board led, but it's never the whole board. And I do wonder how we accomplish that true sort of two-way communication via the board process.
Oh, you mean like with the full board?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because that's what the board, right? That's sort of the board. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I'm reading that. So I don't know if that's, but again, there's probably a way to massage that language. But when it says, yeah, two-way communication between the Board of Education and the general public.
Oh, right, because this is not
that's-
it's not the whole board and the public at large. This is okay. Yeah, no, I agree. But I think that's so increase opportunities for maybe it's just increase opportunities for communication between like members. Well, it's really members of the board or it's actually between the administration and the public at large. Like the board is facilitating communication between the administration and the Amity community.
And so maybe that's where I sort of saw the third paragraph, that the communications would be a liaison. When I said I mean between the Board of Education and administration and all the members of the community. Does that sort of, because really that is what you guys do when you run a community forum, you are the liaison. We include some board members, we include administration, and then we obviously invite in the Amity community.
Yeah, I don't get that from the third one.
So Jen,
Not-
what do the other districts do? So we're facilitating community forums, but the other school districts that you pulled this from, do you happen to know what they do and how they act as two-way communication?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Yeah. I know the superintendent in Colchester and I know the superintendent in Montville, so I could certainly call and ask them.
Okay.
I don't know the person in Darien right now. No, maybe I do. But I mean, I certainly could find out and ask. But based off of I mean, you see what all of their policies are. They're very, very, very small.
Well, I'm just curious because this was an ad hoc committee. Now we are looking to have it to be a permanent committee. We're looking at bylaws. And I'm curious as to what other school districts do. And so far it was more of dipping the toe in and doing community forums. My question is, should the communications committee expand beyond that? It would be interesting to know what the other school districts who have communications committees actually do. We talked about a board corner and doing things like that. And we do know that Paul is writing newsletters, but it would be interesting to know what else the other school districts are doing who have communications committees, because in looking at their bylaws, it looks like it doesn't necessarily line up with what we started to do, which doesn't necessarily mean that this is all we want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't think the bylaws, because they shouldn't, they do not clearly go into levels of specificity. They're very broad and more, I think, aspirational, which is, I think out of all of them, Darien is the one that is the most specific. I think the other three are pretty broad, that, and again, you would want that because you don't know how communication is going to change over time necessarily. So, and that's sort of that purpose behind policy and bylaw versus regulations, procedures, and operations.
Right. Well, it'd be interesting to know. We have if you have a broad bylaw, but then what is actually being done.
And like I said, I can definitely find that out, but I don't think it restricts us from developing a bylaw, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think it restricts us, but I think it might give us an idea of perhaps expanding beyond community forums. I think to Carol's point, I think the last meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, it was June. It doesn't sound right, but was it?
Oh, the last forum?
No. How frequently has this committee been meeting? It was ad hoc.
No.
We met pretty much on a monthly basis after each board meeting. I think when we started the school year, we were a little off, and then obviously with turnover in the board, it didn't quite get flowing. But yeah, we pretty much always had a standing Tuesday after the board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we did. And
I should know, does Paul's letter go to the newspaper or is it just go to?
So we send it to all the news media outlets. It's up to them whether or not they decide to publish it, and whether they publish it in its entirety or whether they editorial it. And then if we did have a mechanism for sending it out to like sort of like a listserv. So if people wanted to get it, they could get it. We're a little bit of a man down in our tech department right now, so we haven't done that as well, but it's definitely Milford Orange Times and the Woodbridge Orange Town News usually post it in its entirety. And they do it pretty consistently and are pretty supportive on that end.
Okay, thank you.
I actually like the chat GBT, some of the language and the purpose.
Yeah, I've been the responsibilities that actually came out pretty well, I think, too.
Were you
some of the records?
Yeah, so effective communication between the Board of Education, the school community. I don't think it would be the Board of Education because not the entire board's there, but school community and the public. So, it's really for the board to facilitate effective communication between the school administration and the school community and the public, which is sort of similar to the one, I guess, in Darien Darien? What did I say earlier? Tolland.
I like this statement about developing, if you can go down again. Can you, yeah. developing strategies to improve communications, right? Because that's really what our focus is.
And that gives us leeway to like respond in different ways, like moving forward, right?
Right.
So maybe for now it's the forums, but if we decide that there are other ways, that other things we can do, I think that sort of covers that.
Yeah.
So is there a recommendation that this gets added, or does it replace something that's in the draft bylaw?
So my recommendation is that some of the language from Tolland and the purpose statement from ChatGPT replace some of the language in the second paragraph of the bylaw draft.
Okay. All right, hang on. I'm trying to think how I.
And maybe that's the third too, because the third like paragraph talks about engagement.
That liaison place. Yeah, I think it just is substitute language. All right.
Yeah.
If you bear with me, I just want to try to capture this a little bit before I lose it.
Yep.
All right.
And then Kathy, I think the bit you just highlighted can maybe be weaved into the fourth paragraph.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what that fourth paragraph is trying to get at anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Just grab this stuff from Kathy, and then I'll work on this again before our next meeting. Gotta think about where I am. All right. Okay. All right.
Any other thoughts on the draft or recommendations for edits?
Yeah, let me get back so people can see it.
Hi, Dana. Welcome. Okay, if there's nothing else on the bylaw, so then Jen, you'll revise and we can review during our next.
Yep.
Our next meeting will be in next month's packet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dana, what we were doing was we were reviewing the kind of some of the bylaws from some of the other schools that Dr. Byers collected to talk about what should our mission look like? What should our bylaws look like? I'm sorry.
And if you have any additional, like if after this meeting you have additional edits or thoughts, just email them to the two of us. All right, if there's nothing else we could,
sorry,
there's nothing else on 4. Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, that's okay. Let me stop sharing. Okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is discussion and recommendation for May Community Forum topics. So during our last meeting, I said that I would reach out to board members to solicit ideas for our May forum topic. And just as a reminder, I believe our May forum is scheduled for Monday, May 27th.
No, Monday, May 20th.
Sorry, Monday, May 20th. Okay. Oh yeah, is that Memorial
Yes,
weekend?
it is.
Okay. So May 20th. I should make sure I have that marked properly too. So I did get a few responses from folks, which I'll share, and then I'll open it up for any ideas you all have for forum topics. So one was to sort of survey parents to see what topics they thought, what topic ideas they have. My initial thought on that was I wasn't sure if there was time now for it. There may be, but anyway, but that's something, if we decide that there's no time for that for the May forum, I think that might be a good thing to do going forward. The second was to look at the impact, to have it focus on the impact of dual enrollment on rankings. And the third was to talk about differentiated learning, differentiation of instruction, so and how teachers will reach all learners in the classroom. So that's what I got back from. Those are the ideas that were sent to me. So I'll stop there and just see if you have any other ideas. Oh, and then last meeting we talked about aligning topics with the strategic plan and things that are forthcoming. So something else for us to consider.
And I know the last 2 times we've done a community forum, we have included like sort of like a feedback sheet to both collect information about sort of who was there. And then on that, it did have like an open space for please share ideas for our next community forum topic. I don't think the only one that we ever got was the one to do a forum on SEL. So we got that at our first forum, and then that became our second forum. Our second forum, I don't think we got any suggestions for, but we have tried to collect that.
Okay, so I forgot about that. So that's a great idea.
And we would continue to do that because it just helped us also to figure out who was there, like, what grade level, what school we were pulling from. Because things are very different for a 7th grader versus a 12th grader.
I think the only limitation with that approach is that, our denominator is only the people who show up.
Right. Yeah.
How unfortunately, right, I did not attend the last one. How are they structured? I mean, do we send a notice out to parents, or we post it somewhere? How do we communicate it's going to happen and the subject?
So I typically have sent out a Swift K-12. So that's like goes to everybody. Then I get the principals to put it in their newsletters. So that way, if they don't read my email, then they hopefully read their emails. We post it on the student happenings for the high school. So the kids get it, which is why we sometimes have kids show up at the community forums. And then I have been posting it onto the Facebook page, which we don't use very often, but when we do, then our PTSOs will boost it. So then it gets out through the PTSOs. When the topic has been appropriate, I've sent it to the elementary superintendents and asked them to share with their 6th grade parents.
Okay.
And however they do it.
And then I think individual board members, at least I I would share the flyer you create, Jen, with other parents.
And then we do a presentation and they ask questions.
So we allow them to submit questions ahead of time, and we tell them sort of what topic it is. So that way it's not too broad. And then we allow parents to submit questions ahead of time, as many as they want. And then my team will look at the questions so we can figure out who should sit on the forum. We typically have had one board member sit as part of the forum. Often, like the first one around academics, Paul sat on it. The second one, because it was around social emotional learning, Mr. Reed sat on it since he's a school psychologist. So we sort of try to match a board member a little bit to the topic. But then mostly I try to pull together like 8 staff members. So it's not too big. And then the communications committee, essentially, because you get redundancy in the questions a lot
We-
of times.
Yeah,
So the communications committee kind of, like right before the forum, like we have a cutoff date when you can't submit questions anymore. And then the committee gathers and sort of tries to eliminate redundant questions and sort of ask like the series of questions, kind of taking out the ones that are repetitive. And then we answer those first, and then we open it up so that anybody who's there can ask a question.
and they can ask anonymously, like
Yeah.
in real time
It's
as well, like
yes.
while they're there.
So we kind of summarize the questions. Here's what we heard from you. Here's the response. Here's what we heard. Here's the response. And then we open it up.
No, well, we ask, so we go through, so like 2 members of the committee would sit, go through all the questions, sort of rephrase them because people,
Yeah.
it's public. Not rephrase, but like we're still asking their question. So we eliminate redundant questions, think about the order in which we should ask the questions. Questions that are related to each other, we sort of, bring them together, and then organize them in a way that makes sense. So like we're not, and decide like
it's a good flow.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the communications committee people will they'll ask the questions, and our panel will answer, kind of just whoever wants to take it, I guess. And it lasts about 90 minutes. The first one was 2 hours. We lost people at the end. So 90 minutes seemed to work really well. The last time it was like enough time to get through the pre-submitted questions and then some of the questions that were there, and not enough to kind of drain everybody's batteries for the night.
I think too, after the first forum, we figured that we should make sure we leave time for like the live questions for people who are like physically in the room who may not have submitted questions ahead of time. So yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
So we have, I guess, differentiated learning, impact of dual enrollment on rankings.
What is differentiated?
Yeah, I think differentiated learning is almost like too educationally. I think we would have to clean up it. I'm not speaking very well. I think we would have to clean it up to sort of be like meeting the needs of all learners or something like that, because
in unleveling or something like meeting the needs of all learners
unleveling
in an unleveled setting.
Right. Well, I would just say unleveling, meeting the needs of all learners. So
right.
That it's very transparent and there's no miscommunication.
Exactly.
I like that, Donna.
What it's about.
Yeah. Unleveling, meeting the needs of like every learner.
And then maybe the teachers are board teachers, Carla and Andrea, if they're available and interested in serving on the panel.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of that. Because I know Carla could certainly speak a little bit about dual enrollment. And I don't know that I don't know that there's an impact on, I think it's just a conversation a little bit around dual enrollment, because I don't think people understand what it is or the benefits of dual enrollment over AP, why they would want their kids to do that, what classes may be offered. And I do think it's going to come as a surprise to people, because we won't get approved until the summer, and then we'll have to be like, hey, by the way, you're in a dual enrollment class. So the more we can get information out to people ahead of time, I think that helps.
So Jen, I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say so the process right now is getting approved for dual enrollment, and then it would begin in the fall. How many classes are going to be affected?
We're trying to get 1 in each department, so 15.
Okay, so 15 classes. Is there any downside to dual enrollment? The reason I'm asking is that I think both are very important. However, with the multiple questions even after the presentation, I feel that doing the unleveling perhaps first and then enrollment, because the dual enrollment.
So two totally different things impacted though. Dual enrollment only is for the high school.
Yes.
And the unleveling is the middle school. So totally different populations.
Well, the other, has any information gone out about dual enrollment in any way?
Not right now, because we just don't know what classes are going to get approved or not.
Perhaps getting out in front of that would be a really good idea, and sending out information.
To say we're exploring.
Right. And this could be approved as soon as the summer. It will impact, and I think that gauging the response would be beneficial, especially if we would like to have a firm topic by April meeting.
So I think that, and again, I don't want to sort of jump on his toes, but I'm pretty sure Frank is planning to present to a curriculum committee. I don't remember if it's in April or in May, when he's a little closer to knowing what will and won't be approved for dual enrollment. And then obviously that would then be shared via the board meeting. So I can sort of text him and he's around, see what he says.
Based on, you're sensing that it's going to be an important topic, and I agree it's going to be an important topic. I feel that there was so many questions around unleveling, and still are, that this would be a highly attended community forum in May, especially for the incoming sixth graders, and definitely get it out to the parents for the incoming sixth graders, because some parents may not have gone to parent night because this may be their second or third or multiple child going through Amity, and they had no idea that this was happening. And then they're going to be shocked when they may have heard it through the grapevine, may have, everything that's been going on within the community lately. So I would hit the sixth grade parents, and of course the current middle school parents and students who may have questions, because there's also students who have a lot of questions around this, even after our special meeting. So I think that the dual enrollment it would be very important to get that information out. But since there's from what I'm hearing, no perception of negativity, or it's not going to impact anyone in a negative way, that maybe that's a great fall community forum. I would say have one over the summer, but that might be a problem for everyone. Or we could just do two. I don't know. You could do two topics in one.
And again, yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. Do both of those as a topic in the springtime, and then let people ask the questions. And if we get one question about dual enrollment, so be it. If we get three, great. If it's all that people talk about is leveling, that's fine too. But I think this way, if you only discuss leveling, you're only reaching middle school parents. And if we want a community forum, let's think of two topics that would bring in both of our sets of parents. So I think dual enrollment hits high school interests, and leveling hits middle school interests.
I misunderstood you. I thought you wanted to pick one topic. I actually like the idea of two, but I thought that perhaps 90 minutes wasn't enough to cover both, but maybe you just keep it, you don't have a hard stop after 90 minutes, but you set up where you have an allotted time for each one, and then go back and say, if anyone has any additional questions beyond the 90 minutes and they want to stay, then we could definitely do that.
Well, and I think the last time what we did, and Carol, remind me, we asked the pre-planned questions for an hour.
Yeah.
And then had a stopping point of pre-planned questions, and then opened it up to the floor for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think if you let them know we're going to, both subjects, So, encourage them, right, to submit their questions ahead to be sure that their questions are responded to, right? Because we are going to have 2 topics and we want to give both fair airing, right?
Yes, and so I'm guessing, I don't remember, so we could give a summary of each topic when we announce the forum and the question.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I think that's sort of, we sort of just kind of like with social emotional learning, we sort of just defined what it was so people would
Right.
understand what they were coming to ask questions about.
And
Right.
for the AP classes, would kids choose the AP class over, the dual enrollment course over the AP course? And
Depends on what they want.
okay, and
So like, that's a good question.
yep. And also like, when they incorporate number of AP exams taken, is the denominator kids who are enrolled in AP classes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Not
Yes.
like, okay, fantastic.
So,
So if
and-
they
and-
opt for the dual enrollment and not AP, then essentially we're not being, our rankings aren't
our
impacted
denominator
yet.
will go down.
Right.
So
Okay.
it shouldn't have an adverse impact. And some of the dual enrollment
Fantastic.
courses are they're not AP classes anyway, and some of them
Yeah.
are. So it sort of depends. But I mean, I think
Okay.
that's important information for people to hear, because not everybody looks for dual enrollment courses in culinary or in the auto shop or in, but then there are going to be parents and students who may want to think carefully about the choice of whether they select a dual enrollment or an AP class.
I think this is
Then-
good. It's good to have the 2 topics here too, because I was thinking just listening to the conversation, the unleveling topic is relevant to like the entire middle school, but like if we think about the number of kids that are taking AP and who would potentially take dual enrollment courses, it's a small, I presume a small number, or I don't know.
It'll be about 600 kids that it
Oh,
could apply
really?
to. Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Because
Okay,
we have
how
like
does that-
we have 400 enrolled in AP, and then we're going to have some dual enrollment classes that aren't AP classes. So I'm going
Yeah.
to say it's probably going to be about half of our student body potentially impacted by this
Okay.
in some way.
Okay, so then yes.
So Jen, yeah, so how does that affect the master schedule then? If these are not going to be approved until over the summer, and then
So they've already enrolled for them.
fluctuating
They've
kids who want
already
to
enrolled.
change.
It's not going to change anything. Well, yeah. So that's where I think some of the challenge is for us. The kids are already enrolled in the courses that are getting approved. So they will have obviously automatically be enrolled there, and then they will have the choice to select if they are going to take that class as a dual enrollment class. Kids who didn't pick that class, who then may want to get into that class, may not be able to because it may already be full. And they would have done it if they had known it was going to be a dual enrollment. So I think that's where we have to really explain to the community that it's not really an us choice. We can come up with the classes that we think align with the universities, but ultimately the universities make that decision, and their schedule just doesn't align with ours as we make the transition. Once we're approved, and then we know that going forward. But I think trying to get that messaging out to people is going to be important, because I don't want anybody to feel like they were somehow shortchanged because something changed in the middle of the summer.
Right, and I can see that as being a little sticky.
Yeah.
Because as a parent, you think you're making your selections, but if you had known that there was a dual enrollment course available, or there was a course that may be a dual enrollment course, I understand.
Well, as a student, we would hope that they were, that it's the student who sort of is making those selections, and
well,
not the
it
parent.
is, but parents are also very involved in what courses they guide their student into, which courses may align to what they see themselves doing in the future. So even if it's in culinary, even if it's in
Yep.
tech.
Yeah,
That
so that's why I thought that this was a really good topic to have. And like I said, we'll present it through curriculum and through the board meeting. But again, this is a different forum for people to ask those questions and to
Right.
actually ask questions and get answers as opposed to just hearing our presentation about it.
So just so I'm clear and I understand, this has not been shared with any parent or student that there may be changes over the summer for courses they've already registered for that could be dual enrollment come fall if the district is approved.
Right.
Wow. Is there any way we can get out in front of that as a district?
Yeah, I think this is how we'll start doing that, because again, I don't know where we are. I mean, it says it again, it's in the strategic plan that we wanted to
Yeah,
have
but
one
that's
Yep.
people aren't reading the strategic plan. We can't fall
But,
back on, oh, it's in the strategic plan.
but
So-
yeah, no, I think that this is the start of that process. Now that we feel much more confident of that, we will probably have at least one per department.
So
Okay.
Jen, I wonder if this is, so I think what I'm hearing is that we should go with both topics. Both are like timely things that we think people will be interested in, and we need to get ahead of, like the AP course thing. What I think would be great is if a letter or something goes out to the Amity community saying, we're exploring, the ability to provide AP courses at Amity, which I think you brought up. I don't know if it was in public or like just with us, but exploring providing AP courses. This is what they are. We don't know yet. Like
So
will
we
know.
don't even know what the courses are yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
See, that's
but I
part,
think
remember, we just finished this process with the universities like in the end of February. So it's not like
Okay.
we're like holding back. We're sort of like moving right along at the pace that we anticipated.
Yep.
And and it was Frank's intention to sort of present it to curriculum committee. And then we'll, again, sort of, so the timing is perfect. It'll fit very well. And then from curriculum committee, he can share at a board meeting.
at a board meeting.
And again, it's not relevant to anybody except for high school. So it's something that I think, just like when we sent the letter about changing all the 10th graders schedules to add financial literacy, that will, it was relevant to the 10th graders. So this is relevant to our high school students, and we can share it through community happenings and through we actually get more success when we share it through student happenings because they read the newsletters more frequently.
So board meeting, sharing it at a board meeting, sending it through student happenings to Friday.
And the Friday community happenings.
And so
And can you
what's the
do this
what's the target date for that? Right? I mean, the sooner the better, even if we're exploring and defining.
We
and
can
we're
do it
gonna
in the
have-
next couple of weeks.
And
I'm sure.
and saying we're going to have a community forum to give you more information as we get clear, blah, 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 blah.
Right. I think a heads up through Swift 12K. I mean,
Yeah.
K-12. I know I said it. Is it 12K or K-12?
K-12.
K-12. I wrote it down, transposed it. So K-12, I think getting something, I would do all communication venues.
Yeah, no,
that
I think both the community happenings, which is the principal's weekly newsletter, and then the student happenings, which is the students' weekly newsletter.
right. And then the Swift K-12.
The newsletter is sent through Swift K-12.
Okay. Well, as long as they know, and it's like
Swift K-12 is just the mechanism to
Okay.
send things.
Jen,
Thank
I wonder if whatever, a letter sent that's like just on that would be better than like including it in the newsletter, just to say, and I know we don't know all the details yet, and I get sort of not
Sure,
wanting to send
we
a
can do
message
that.
without all the details, but I think it'll give folks a heads up, or like know that the administration is working towards this goal, more information to come, but here's what it might mean. You know,
And we're
you
gonna
might-
have a
right.
community forum, right? And we're gonna
Yeah.
have a community forum, right? When all the details are clear and you can ask your questions, send them in ahead of time, blah,
I won't say all the
Right.
details will be clear, because even at the community forum, I don't know that we'll still have approved classes, but
yeah,
Well,
but they
how
we
about-
can, we can explain sort of what we're thinking in
we
terms
can
for
answer
process and
questions. We'll have a
Right.
how much
forum.
they
We can answer.
cost, stuff like that.
And the curriculum meeting is recorded. They can attend, they can send public comment. And as well, if you give them a heads up it's going to be presented in the curriculum committee. And then also at a board meeting, so they can watch that. These things are recorded. They can watch them in their own time or attend if they have questions about it. But this is a big change for some people, and this is exactly how they are going to see it, as a big change. And students might be reaching out to their counselors if they know about it, especially if the parents see it. Sometimes kids do see things, they don't see things, and this is where the parents say, hey, what's going on with this? Ask your counselor. Maybe you would like to leave that open, because we have 2 weeks after the school year starts where people switch, if there's room.
Yeah.
Right. So I support separate communication, hitting them every time, and then also putting it in the newsletter.
Yeah, I think.
Over communicating is always better.
Well,
Yeah, I
people
think-
don't always read you might want them to read a specific thing, but people will read when they can. But if you let them know we're going to be discussing, let them know we're going to be discussing it in curriculum. We're going to be discussing it at a board meeting. This is what the attempt is. This is what it may or may not happen, but we won't know until the summer.
Yeah, I definitely think having a separate communication just on this, because I think you'll get a few more eyes on it than if it was like part of the newsletter. Even if they read the first like 3 or 4 sentences, right? They may just open the newsletter and read the first 3 or 4 sentences of that, and they'll never get it. So I think that's key, and I think that's a good idea. So we have about 9 minutes left, so we can spend the next couple minutes maybe on anything else related to forum topics, if any other ideas. But if not, I thought we could start to think about. Go ahead, Dana.
Oh no, I'm have a question.
Sorry, I saw your box light up, so I thought you were talking.
I think this is a good forum topic. I think it's needed. So I think I definitely think it's a good topic, and the two of them together will answer a lot of questions and clear up some, misunderstandings.
Okay.
Jim,
Thank you.
does any on the dual enrollment help with rankings?
No, because they don't okay, so for our next generation accountability report, which is the one that we're beholden to for the state of Connecticut, yes, because they will count the number of kids who are enrolled in dual enrollment classes as part of one of the metrics that they measure. Something like US News and World Report doesn't count those because it's not something they can extract from College Board.
Okay.
But my guess is it might help us in some of the other rankings because the denominator will be smaller if more kids.
Right. I'm just wondering, there's so many people are concerned about the rankings. If there's any way we can take it as a positive spin, something,
I don't think we'll know.
Carol's right, because we have so many kids who take AP and then opt not to take the AP exam. And if they had the option to instead have a dual enrollment and earn a college credit, and they chose that instead of being just in the AP class, she is right, our denominator could potentially go down. And if it does, then the calculation could go up. But I think that's too many moving parts to really speculate that there's going to be an impact or not. I think, again, the most important part is that we are putting in classes where kids can earn transferable college credit as part of their high school experience, which that is not guaranteed by an AP class.
And I think we highlight that, like, that saves, well, I don't know how much, I don't know what the cost is associated with this, but it saves parents money.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
So-
but my question is always look at the communication backwards. If your kid's going in a dual enrollment class or an AP class, your grade, how many of the parents are going to be like, great, my kid isn't that, so what does this benefit me, or how or why?
Right. And so that's why we're trying to put them in areas that are sort of outside of the typical AP class, which is why we sort of insisted that we have some in CTE and some in visual
Oh, that's
performing
a
arts.
fantastic idea.
So,
So Jen, is the goal to have more than, how many classes eventually is the goal to have of dual enrollment
as many as
courses?
we can.
Okay,
honestly.
so,
Yeah.
all right, so this would potentially be, you're hoping for 15 come the fall, but
I think
would like,
Frank the other day said something like upwards of 60.
Really?
and
Yeah.
when would those be, when would students be able to take those classes? As early as freshman year, or is it only open to juniors?
No,
and
it's
seniors?
typically usually junior and senior classes, but I'm not 100%. I don't know enough about this. These are good questions. These are all forum questions.
Oh,
that
good. I have some
Jill
forum
can answer
questions
that I
Make sure
can't,
you add
but-
those questions, Donna.
But
Okay.
yeah, most of them are usually for upperclassmen. But and yeah, I mean, and again, our goal is to have them in really, we're targeting non-AP classes initially. Although some of our AP classes are very easy to make dual enrollment. So I think some of them will just sort of fall naturally into that. But yeah, we're trying to hit like psychology. AP psychology is one of our most popular classes. Kids take it from all different levels of academic ability. It'd be great if they could earn a 3-credit college class for taking it.
Well, it would, and then it opens up, well, are they going to be all on campus? Are they, how does that affect our teaching staff? I mean, do they?
No, they're dual enrollment. So they're taught by our teachers.
Taught by our teacher, so, okay.
Yes.
At school,
Yeah.
like in
It's
the
just
building.
the class. It's just
Yeah.
the class you enrolled in. It just gets designated as a dual enrollment class. And if you enroll in the college, now you're earning credit for that class.
See, we both had questions about that and wanted to understand that they were on, at the Amity campus and not where they go somewhere else to take it, and therefore you need to worry about transportation and timing.
Yeah,
and
no, that's
party
not,
and being
that's
late.
not,
This is so
that's
much
not dual
better.
enrollment.
I had to make my way to the local community college which,
Right.
Was hard. Some people, like, it's middle of, the afternoon. So I have a hard stop at 6:30. So I thought so I have the 2 topics down. We decided that timeline for like preparing. So I think our next meeting is it the 9th of April?
Yes,
Or okay.
it should be
So
April 9th.
So I would say for this, because we have 2 topics, I would say targeting getting out any like materials, things like that, the week of April 15th.
Nope.
No?
School vacation week. Nobody will read anything on school vacation week.
Okay.
So
One
no,
day-
we've typically started, we've usually given it about like a 3-week window. Because if you do it too early, then people are like, now I'll do it later, and then they forget.
Okay.
But your bigger challenge is backing into the date that I cut off the questions. So I usually have in the past cut off the questions on the Thursday before the forum. And then 2 people from this committee had typically met on Friday or Saturday to put them together. I don't know if you still want to do that, or if you want me to cut them off a little bit earlier so you're not spending your
I
weekend
think
drafting community forum questions.
Yeah. I think a little bit earlier, just because
Okay.
I think we're going to get a lot of questions about unleveling, and probably a lot of questions on AP courses as well. So it might take, I would say, like you know, at least 2 hours, like we've done, I think we did 3 for academics, but like time to sort of go through, organize, condense some questions. So maybe Wednesday?
Yeah, I
And,
was going to say I could
that
either
gives
turn
us a
it off
couple
on
days.
the 14th or the 15th.
Oh, the
So
14th or 15th
of May.
of May.
I say the 14th because that gives, that extra day could really be helpful. I understand not cutting it off on a Friday or a Monday because you want to give people oh, I forgot. And Jen, I would suggest sending out a communication multiple times to say, just a reminder.
Yeah. That's what
Okay.
we've done. We have 3 that usually go out, 1 each week.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the 14th would be good. And then, if they don't, it's not the end of the world. They can come
Yeah, they can come and ask
and they
questions
can
live.
ask their questions live or submit it anonymously from their seat. So, yeah. So I think that's great. And that gives us a couple days to.
So one
And
other,
then,
before we wrap up, Carol, recording, which we can talk about next meeting, should we record it?
Oh.
I mean, to Dana's point, she thought it was great not to be recorded. However, for people who can't make it and want to hear the responses, so whether it's providing a transcript, that could work, a transcript or recording. Because
so
people
Jenny
might,
suggested I think
Like
for
a
the last
summary.
one, like a transcript, right? So here are the questions that were asked, here are the
Right.
answers, and she suggested maybe having it like posted somewhere on the Amity website or like somewhere where people can access it and see, the questions that were asked and the responses.
right, you can say, you can have it up, community forum, you can have it up on the homepage for a while, and then always have it live under the communications committee, or just, I'm not sure if there's another area we can put like new topics. If you want to talk about dual enrollment, what is dual enrollment, and then unleveling. I'm not sure where that could live. I mean, that's something where your new web person could.
Yeah, I
maybe
think for now it'll
could
go
put
under the
something together.
communications committee. And Jenny took responsibility for kind of drafting up that summary. So
summary.
yeah.
Okay. So I can plan to just have that, like, because I'll have the questions anyway, and I have to see how she got, because we weren't recording the responses as we
Yeah, I
were
don't,
asking.
she did a lot off the top of her head and then she sent it to us. I actually think she's still waiting
Oh,
for
yes, she did. Okay, to fill in.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, to just to kind of check and see what she wrote and to make sure that it was accurate.
Yeah, okay. All right.
You could record it just in general for your own purposes, Carol, so that
yeah, so I can have the responses.
right, you can go back and listen to it.
Yeah. Or set up, or set up something that transcribes automatically.
Or just set up a
listening to the room.
transcription, right?
Yeah, actually, I might do that. Any final thoughts? I'm going to close this out. So we have topic ideas, fantastic. We'll talk more about planning, and I'll, between now and then, figure out sort of recording or capturing the responses in a way that'll be great to like summarize and send to you, Jen, or someone else in the administration to like post. And then, I think otherwise.
And we're going to review the bylaws, right? Next meeting.
Yes.
We'll review the bylaw and then we'll also kind of assign tasks for running the forum.
And then Jen's just going to reach out to some of the other school districts to maybe get an idea of what their communications committees do and how it differs from ours. Right. Jen?
Yep.
Okay.
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 All right. I move that we adjourn at 6:33.
All right.
Second.
All right.
Hi.
Hi.
All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks
you too.
everybody. Thank you. Thanks,
Night.
Jen.
Thank you.